Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, my name is Karen Cheong and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Today we're going to be exploring how to expand and open your field of possibilities. This is a direct benefit of frequency work and can be a tremendous opportunity as you move forward in your life. So let's just jump right in. Dennis?
You know, I think what's really exciting, Karen, in visiting with folks that are working with you is when they start talking about these possibilities that start to pop up, things that they could never, ever have imagined being part of their life. And now it's things that they're taking a look at as possibilities. Can you explain how does that work? How is that magic? What is that?
Well, it kind of is. Well, what's happening is that, okay, so all possibilities exist already in the quantum field. They already exist. There's nothing new. It's all there in the infiniteness of the quantum field, right? It's an infinite field of possibilities. That's what the quantum field is. So what happens is that because we have distortion patterns around us, it's like we have blinders on. We can only resonate with a small number of these possibilities because, again, it's almost like a horse with blinders. You can only see this much in front of you. And it's almost because, you know, if you have all these layers and layers and layers of duct tape around the sphere, only a certain amount can penetrate that vast, dark heaviness of the distortion patterns, right? So it's similar to having blinders on. So what happens is as you remove the distortion patterns around you, and it becomes lighter and brighter and cracks appear and the sphere can start to now sense pure source a little bit better, right? Through the layers of the duct tape. Similarly, your blinders start to go a little bit more open. And the reason that's happening is because your vibration is rising. And as your vibration rises, what is open to you in terms of possibility because of your resonance and the resonance of what exists in the fields becomes more coherent and you're able to access more of them. So as you do more and more work to unbind or to remove the distortion patterns, the blinders now open and open and open and open. And it's not necessarily slow like that. Like I've just done it as if it's like, tick, 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 tick. It can be like this all of a sudden in one session, depending on who you are. And all these possibilities that were not available to you, open to you because the resonance of your vibration level has popped up enough such that those possibilities are now available to you, okay? Or accessible to you. Does that make sense?
Is that almost like a form of awakening, becoming aware? And so now
yeah.
I have the capacity to see and perceive these different options, where before I just...
Yes, I see what you're saying. Okay,
yeah.
Yes. So to some degree, yes. So what I would say is the possibilities open to you, whether or not you're consciously aware of them, and as you mentioned, your perception itself will start to open. And you will start to be aware of new things because it's almost like you've gone from being a pessimist, seeing only glass half full, to glass half empty, to full. Right? You've now shifted the glass half full because you've shifted your perspective. So as you said, as the distortion patterns are removed, your perception also opens and you also become more aware. And what I would encourage people to do is, if they decide to embark on this kind of work, is to notice what is happening around you, who is coming into your life. Because often, you know, it's funny, people say, well, how do you know what to do next? And I usually say, well, I just be still and pay attention to what's happening around me. Because often I found that pure source it's not like there's a big spreadsheet or like a PowerPoint presentation with like a little thing being like, now move here. I kind of sometimes wish there were because, you know, it'd be easier. But I'm like, sometimes like, whoa, not sure where I'm going here. But, you know, any time map would be helpful. But a clue?
Please.
But what happens usually is somebody drops in. So it's usually in the form of another person, and I call this following the energetic breadcrumbs. So somebody who I haven't heard from a long time will drop in and say, oh, I haven't heard from you in a long time, how are you? There's a little exchange. What are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I found this new XYZ. It's really amazing. huh, okay, that's cool. And I don't necessarily follow that thing right away. But if within 24 hours, the same mention of that same thing comes from an entirely different person who's not associated with that one person, I start to really pay attention. And when it's 3 times in a very short period of time, now I'm very much paying attention to that thing. And I will start to move towards it. Because it's, it seems random, but these people are totally don't even talk to each other, don't know each other, things, or like a random email marketing thing will come across for the thing. You're like, what? I didn't even know this thing existed until 72 hours ago, and here it is in my email, right? So that is the following the energetic breadcrumbs, what's coming along your path. So that's being open to that. And as you say, as your perception opens and you become more aware of those things, it's super helpful because oftentimes, pure source and your higher self are trying to talk to you. It's just that we're totally oblivious to them. Where they're like, hello, over here. And we're like, oh, but look over here at the mug. I really want the mug. Right? And you're not aware of the glass over there that has the wonderful elixir that you've been looking for or whatever, And what I would also like to say about possibilities is that, a lot of people ask me, can you read my future? Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you allow someone to dictate your future, be very, very careful, because that is a form of control. So just be extremely careful when someone tells you your future, because all possibilities exist, are available. Now, I understand from what I just said, right? And to be consistent, you only have access to a certain number of them, right? Because of your distortion patterns. So if someone says to you, there's only this one possibility, this one future for you, that is not true. And secondly, that is a tremendous position of power. So if you accept that from them, then you're going to create things because we're tremendously powerful creators to orchestrate things so that future possibility becomes your future. So be very careful when someone tells you that this is what your future is. I'll tell you how possibilities really work, and then you can see what I mean. So let's just say that when you haven't done any frequency work at all, and because of the distortion patterns around you, you have 10 possibilities open for your future, And then you have a frequency work session. All of a sudden now your possibilities are 200. Because now all these distortion patterns have been removed and all these possibilities now are more resonant with you than before. You can access more of them than you could before.
And that sounds exciting.
It sounds really awesome because now you can't even imagine what are those 200. I mean, there was 190 more than there used to be, and you hadn't thought about them, which is great. Here's the thing. So let's imagine the first case scenario of the 10. Of the 10, when you didn't have frequency work, in 8 of those possibilities, you were going to meet Bob. Bob's going to come into your life. In 8 of those possibilities, So chances are you're going to meet Bob. In 2 of those possibilities, Bob isn't there. You don't meet Bob, When you have frequency work, right, and now you have 200 possibilities in front of you, let's just imagine Bob is going to show up in 164 of them. But in 36 of them, he doesn't appear. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
There is a propensity for you to meet Bob. The likelihood, there's a greater probability that you're going to meet Bob. Does that make sense? 164 of them, you're going to meet Bob. I don't know what Bob's going to do for you, but for some reason, you're going to meet him, So it's not necessarily true that you're going to meet Bob. It's likely that you're going to. Very likely, So, but in 34 of those other possibilities, you don't meet Bob. And it's not static. So it's always in motion. So for example, let's just imagine you decide, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive to the store. And then, or instead you decide to walk. In that choice, it could impact whether you meet Bob or you don't meet Bob.
The rest of your life.
Exactly. You just don't know. So I'm saying it's not static. I'm not saying freak out about it because you can't control this stuff. But I'm just saying that it's moving all the time.
And I've got free will.
And you have free will. And the more distortion patterns you remove, the more free will you have. Because you're not bound by the distortion patterns and what they're conditioning you to believe, think, assume, conclude.
And the last thing I want to do is hand my mystical, magical journey over to you.
Oh, well, why would you? I don't want to have that responsibility, actually.
but for you to tell me, Bob's going to come into your world and something's going to happen. Then all of a sudden, pooh.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens if in the other 34, you meet Fred instead, and Fred's like really awesome and would take you into another place where you even more possibilities open to you. So it's really difficult, and because we were always trying to like get the best outcome as humans, we were trying to like, okay, how do we get the best outcome for ourselves, right? But the thing is, you can't control this stuff, first of all. And as you say, it would take away the magic and the mystery and all that sort of thing. The best thing to do is to do the frequency work, and then more possibilities open to you, and then so many possibilities open to you, and you become non-attached to them. The key is to not be attached to what that possibility is going to be, and then it sort of becomes this really delightful thing. And the other thing is that as humans, we don't really like discomfort. We don't like, pain. We don't like, it's not so good. Not so nice. However, sometimes when we experience that and transcend it, that's when more possibilities open to us, because we get stronger and then move through it, and then can open up to more possibilities because we're stronger, brighter, clearer, more resonant as a result. So sometimes in adversity, we can become stronger in order to be able to sustain a greater number of possibilities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's like you can handle more breadth of experience, whereas before you could only say handle this much breadth of experience. But because you've transcended, now you can handle this much. Does that, right? So in any case, it's fascinating, and please don't let anyone tell you what your future is. You get to create that on your own, and please know that you're extremely powerful. So when you give that potential to someone else, it's really disempowering for you.
And let me throw this out. I've got a feeling as we do this work and release those distortions and really start to open, I can't help but think that my just natural intuition is going to become stronger.
Yes, because it's not as bound by the distortion patterns. Yeah.
And with that comes a sense of confidence. And so, that very simple decision you talked about earlier, should I walk to the store or should I drive? I've got the feeling that, I should maybe walk. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I'm going to walk.
Yeah.
And
then you bump into Fred.
Boom.
One of the 34 possibilities.
But that's kind of the fun part too.
Exactly.
Is I don't know why.
Exactly.
And now I'm kind of wide-eyed, and something may happen, something may not happen.
Yeah.
And it's perfect.
Exactly.
So. And
I also like to say just about giving your power away. This happens a lot in situations with patients and doctors. Okay, when doctors declare, okay, you're terminal, you're going to die in 3 months, and all that stuff. So they're very careful now to not say that, and that's great. It's really good that they do it. But just be very careful, because you're creating all the time, and there are more things available to you than you can imagine. And so it's very difficult. I'm not saying it's totally normal, right, to believe someone, because they're in a position of authority. You don't know, you're scared, you don't feel good, all that sort of stuff is happening. So I'm not trying to blame anyone in the situation at all. But I'm just encourage you, even in that situation, because that's determination. Like, this is going to be what you're going to move towards. This is what the outcome is for you. Well, how do they know?
Yeah.
How do they know?
There's a category that they use, incurable. And boy, that is just something to stamp that on somebody.
Yeah.
And, kind of declare that. And so if I've given my power away, then I guess, well, that's it.
Yeah. So don't.
Game's up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And so it's really your choice.
Well, I'll tell you what, possibilities, to me, it's extremely exciting. And the fact that as we go, as we grow, as we release, these things, these patterns that you talk about, things start to open. And wow, that's very, very exciting. So thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group. And each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own. Welcome, everyone. This is the Group Frequency Calibration on expanding possibilities. So let's begin by taking 3 deep breaths into your solar plexus. And your solar plexus is located between your belly button and the base of your sternum. Your sternum is that big thick bone in the center of your chest where your ribs meet in front of your body. So between your belly button and the base of your sternum. So keep your attention, awareness, focus on this area as you take 3 deep breaths. On your first breath, please inhale and hold your breath in for 2 to 3 seconds. Before you exhale all the air out of your lungs and hold out your breath for 3 to 4 seconds. And on your second breath, whenever you're ready, please inhale and hold your breath in for 1 second longer than you did your previous breath. And when you're ready, please exhale and hold out your exhaled breath for 1 second longer than you did your previous breath. And on your third breath, please inhale, hold your breath in for as long as you possibly can. And when you feel like you can't hold your breath in any longer, please hold it in for a second longer. And whenever you're ready, on your own time, please exhale all the air out of your lungs and hold out your exhaled breath for as long as you possibly can. And when you feel like you can't hold your breath out any longer, hold it out for a second longer. Good. And please note, whilst I wait for the mastermind to gel, that I'll be working on you in groups and subgroups. And for those of you who are new, I'll be making sounds on my end. So you'll be hearing me exhale sharply, or you might hear me yawn, or you might hear me hum. And that's just my way of moving or removing the distortion patterns and moving the frequencies around. So I invite you to use this as an opportunity to strengthen your focus on your end. Good. So now, continuing to focus on your solar plexus and breathing normally. And let's ask ourselves the following question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? That question, again, is how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, see, sense, feel, or become aware of a brilliance deep within your DNA that starts to get brighter, more expanded, even more radiant. As you become even more aware of your connection only to pure source, and on my part, I'm strengthening or increasing your natural bandwidth on the back end. Good. Excellent. So now, please bring your attention, awareness, focus to the edge of your lower ribs. And as you breathe normally, keeping your attention on this specific part of your body, we'll remove the first distortion pattern, which is a lineage pattern, which has to do with fear of something beyond what is known. Okay, or what you can think of. So let's remove this, because if we want to expand your possibilities, if you have this fear, you're pretty much stuck. So let's just remove this, because if the possibilities that are known to you aren't great or could be better or significantly better or unimaginably better, it's hard for them to come in with this frequency pattern running. Or it's more specifically for you to be attuned to them, able to receive them. So now, if you could please bring your attention, awareness, focus to your solar plexus. Depending on who you are and what subgroup you fall into, this is either fear, resistance to, or an anxiety that possibilities can open for everyone, except not really for you. You're just really stuck with what you've got. So that's not true. Let's just remove this belief. Or at least nothing else is possible with this distortion pattern running. So let's remove this, so you at least have the possibility of something else. Yeah. Good. Still keeping your attention, your focus, and your awareness in your solar plexus. So this is either fear or resistance, depending on what subgroup you're in, to possibilities over which you have no control. Okay, that meaning you don't know what they're going to be, you don't really have control over them, so you're afraid of them. And so as a result, nothing other than what you already know shows up. The magic is in the unknown, or the not yet imagined. So let's remove the fear and the resistance. Yeah. All right. So now if you could please bring your attention from your lower belly, wherever that is for you is just fine, all the way up to your heart space. Yeah. And if you can, please imagine a line or a midline running between these 2 points, becoming very aware of that midline. So this is the distortion pattern of worry that you might not like the possibility that shows up, or that only the bad possibilities show up instead of the good ones, or that type of thing. So should that happen, what I'll say is that everything can be used to propel yourself forward. Sometimes things that appear not great are a growth opportunity for us to transcend. I don't mean from your will of your mind. I mean from spirit level, to release something that no longer works for us. The other thing is that if you learn to create or manifest efficiently from spirit level, there will be a masterclass on that I'm giving in some period of time. Then you can change it. Just because you have a possibility you don't like doesn't mean you can't shift it. So either way, whether you're going to learn from it and or create something better, you don't have to fear the quote-unquote bad possibilities. Good. So now please become aware of the space in your lower belly. And if you can, imagine softening into this space, whatever that means to you. So you could dissolve or melt into this space or drop into it or just imagine it. The space that is the vast blackness of your lower belly. So this next distortion pattern is an attachment to the linear and to the outcome. Very attached to that. So because we can get attached to an outcome, we limit the possibilities that might be better than the outcome that we think we want, because we become so fixated on that one thing or handful of things. What if there are possibilities or twists on that possibility that are much better than what you linearly can get to? Like, meaning point A to B leads to C. 1 + 1 = 2. That type of thing. Attachment to the linear, as opposed to the non-linear, which is all about magic, really. And you'll find, the more work like this you do, the more that people, remedies, timing, opportunities magically appear right in front of you. Usually through a nudge from a friend or coworker or someone else. Someone will appear that helps you. And it won't be because you planned it. Especially once we remove this distortion pattern, which allows only for the plannable or the foreseeable. So that's pretty limited, given the intricacy of the timing of the all that is. Nice. Good. And now notice if you can simply rest here in the vast space of your lower belly. This is a good place to leave you for as long as you like, and I look forward to meeting you on the next GFC.